have with me Mr. Parihar also, and Mr. Parihar, how do you gauge the situation, particularly with regards to Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi holding this bilateral? Is this then heralding the improvement in ties diplomatically and militarily?
Yeah, obviously this was a long due so far the diplomatic ties are concerned, because there was a deadlock for 5 years, and as we all know that we have a huge volume of trade with China. So this is equally important for China also to have a good relations with the India so far the economy and trade is concerned. On the military ties, yes, it was stranded, and if we go to the whatever the outcome is coming out of this discussions on the basis Jinping and Modi is meeting about the strong area to have the patrolling, the resuming the patrolling. So the patrolling will start. It is a good sign. At least there is a good beginning. I would say it is a beginning. It is not the end of the deadlock which was going on since March, April 2020. Because the Chinese are not that straightforward. What they say is not truly what they are going to do it. The main issue remains there about the creation of buffer zone. Now, whether this buffer zone will be aligned with the positions of both the forces in the month of March 20, or it will be a new buffer zone has been created, which we are apprehensive, which has happened in the Kyushu area, the Pangam Lake area. So the patrolling also, it's a very good sign. At least there is some point of the melting of the ice between India and China. And both the countries are having a huge burden of maintaining the forces in such a large volume in the high altitude. Chinese are not very comfortable with the placing their contractual closures in the high altitude. That is why they also want to withdraw it. But simultaneously, there is a word of caution that the China has taken this 4-year period to build up their infrastructures and air security in the Tibet and the area adjoining to the eastern Ladakh. So I don't think the China will leave his policy to create nuisance for the India. Sometimes we say one step backward is to prepare themselves for the 4th step. So for me, the important issue remains there to see the creation of the buffer zone, because our experience is that after every kind of a conflict, they draw a line on the buffer zone which enters into the position. Suppose if it happens in the restaurant where they are today, the Chinese forces are there, the Indian forces are there, and they ask you want to make a buffer zone of 10 kilometers, so you withdraw yourself for 4 kilometers and will withdraw for the 4 kilometers. But if they have already entered 10 kilometers, it means the buffer zone is coming in the area what we have been occupied in the March 20. For me, the situation March 20 is the buffer zone, not the patrolling. It is the patrolling is there allowed us to go there, which was restricted. So there is a catch point in it. We have to see what is coming out and how the things takes shape on the ground in future.
I also have with me Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor. Ambassador, what are the key takeaways, particularly about this BRICS summit that is taking place? And there are important players. There's Iran, Russia, China and India. Besides that, there's Saudi Arabia and UAE. They all are present. What is the message that is being sent out to the West?
Well, it is a very important development. It's quite a landmark development. And, it is something which is going to impact the course of the world in the coming days and weeks and years. Now, there are both positives and negatives to it. And the message also it sends out to the West is that, India cannot be taken for granted. You cannot, run with the hare and hunt with the hound. So you have to treat India with due respect, because we have seen on the Khalistan issue how they have been playing a game which is duplicitous, and they do something in America, they do something in Canada, Behind the scenes, they are all united, etc. Now, for China, it makes a lot of sense currently to talk to India because of their current economic situation. It's a very serious situation in terms of the real estate, in terms of the railway sector. Their geopolitical situation is also very serious in terms of the pushback to the Belt and Road Initiative from a lot of countries who do not want that funding or those projects. Their internal political situation is also not very stable or strong, in the sense you have seen, suddenly the foreign minister of the country vanishing completely, the defense minister vanishing. So it's a very precarious situation for them. The regional situation is very serious because there are fights with all their neighbors, very serious fights. The Taiwan situation is also on the brink. They've been trying to, use their might and muscle there and bully Taiwan. Their global situation is also not very, strong currently because of all the pushback from so many countries of the world, including Europe, etc. The geostrategic situation is also very, very complicated for them. So if I'm a Chinese strategician at this point of time, I will try to minimize the areas of risk for myself. And one of the primary areas of risk for China is the very firm response which India has been giving to them on the Himalayas, on the negotiating table, on the discussions, not entertaining them really at the level of foreign minister or prime minister for a very long time. So finally they understood that and they agreed to a bilateral meeting where both the sides were able to negotiate on the border, which the previous panelist has also mentioned about. But for India, seeing the past track record of the Dragon and seeing their behavior with other countries, with Philippines violating international norms and the legal scheme with the world, the law and order, and all the other things that they do internally and externally, India cannot let its guard down. India has to keep its guard up. India has to deal very firmly. Just because currently they are on a weak wicket, they want to come and talk to India, but India cannot sort of relent on its policy of earlier.
Right.
We have to keep on building up our defenses, and the world gets a message that these two countries are not on the brink of a war, which was being propagated a lot by the narrative outside India and China, that imminently there's going to be a war between the two countries. So that may not happen now. That not happening now also gives India the benefit of being able to focus on keeping on, building up its might economically, politically, globally, and keeping its vigil at the border and strengthening its vigil at the border, and making sure that not even 1 square inch is lost to Chinese, and what has been lost earlier, in all the places there.
Right.
So
but then Ambassador Kapoor, again, when we take a look at how China is placed in the Indo-Pacific region, and it has been having conflicts with Japan, Taiwan, there has been aggression that has been shown towards Philippines, which at this point of time is raising protests. There is support that is being garnered from US when it comes to the attacks on Taiwan. Japan at this point of time wanting to have an Asia NATO, and at a juncture where it seems to be fighting war at multiple fronts, when it decides to have a rapprochement measure with India, what does this signify? Is China at this point of time introspecting and thinking that it cannot afford to have so many enemies in the region?
Well, Megha, the point is that, for India, as I said earlier, I was involved with the initial note which was first written for the Quad, and we have to keep up the pressure in all the fora and not sort of take a lenient stance in any way whatsoever. If India tilts more towards the US side or the US alliance, Western alliance, or NATO, then it becomes more difficult for China to hold its sway or to, take over Taiwan or do anything in the region which is contrary to the interests of the other countries. Whereas India, being neutral, is in the favor of China. So that is what somehow we have to have a very fine balance, that we are not portrayed as neutral. We take a very firm stance that thus far and no further, that this is not, this is what we accept, this is what we will not accept. So all those messages have to be very clear.
Yeah.
And we cannot afford a mollycoddling sort of position that, okay, now everything is hunky-dory. We will start doing a lot of trade, we will start doing a lot of work with them. So that cannot happen. So that's my message.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.